Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. We have Regina here with us, and she's an interesting coach, a leadership and freedom coach, CEO also, and she's got a company called Transform Your Performance, and yeah, traveling around the world at the moment in Paris, usually stays in US. But Regina, please introduce yourself to our audience.
Yes, hi, and thanks so much, Tony, for having me on. It's a pleasure meeting you and being with everybody listening. So, I'm, as you said already, the CEO of Transform Your Performance with the same website, transformyourperformance.com. I am a transformational leadership coach and freedom coach, which I have recently added on because it just came naturally as a need for my clients who were typically people in leadership roles, both entrepreneurs and corporate people. And yeah, so I'm also an international inspirational speaker and author of a few books.
Wonderful. And when we were in the green room before we started recording, you were mentioning that you started your business in 2012. So you've been in the game for some time, and obviously our podcast is actually focused on all the good things that are happening and stuff, and then some of the challenges that you may be facing as well. But let's look into first these wonderful things that you're doing for your clients. So what's like leadership and freedom coach like how is leadership and freedom coach helping their clients?
Yeah, first of all, for the leaders, I help them become thriving leaders with thriving teams. So it's for both the leaders and the teams, of course. A lot of leaders want to also advance in their careers faster or more easily, and I help them with that as well. Get promotions, renegotiate salaries, things like that. But of course, also the team leaders want to be more, not just more effective as leaders, they also want to feel more fulfilled. They want their teams to be happy and engaged. That's typically what leaders want. And I help them do that, and help them do that in a way that is also satisfying to themselves. So I call it bold, heart-centered leadership in general. And then for the other part of life, which is not so career focused or leadership focused, everyone wants that part to go as desired or more as desired as well, and that has always been naturally and organically a part of the coaching, and that's why eventually I also made it available as a separate offering, and I call it Freedom Coaching, so that everyone can live what I call a freaking amazing life. And
Wonderful.
that is a life that's like right for them and not for me, right? So it looks different for everybody.
Totally. And when you talk about leaders and how they can actually, become better leaders or progress in their career and stuff like that, what's one tip you can share with them on, like why should they hire a coach, for example?
Well, most leadership and the upper echelons have coaches, right?
Mm.
So that is probably an indicator. And it's not only that, though. Sometimes we think we have to imitate or copy other people or existing models, which I dare say oftentimes are outdated. So I like to coach around new paradigms in leadership. I've even created one of my frameworks is called New Paradigm Leadership because I believe that it's worth trying out some new paradigms in leadership. So I help them also dare do it in their way. And and for most people, that immediately feels more authentic because that's also what then gives us the fulfillment if we don't do what we're supposed to do or what other people think is right, but what we believe is right and stand for, right? So that we can also bring our values into the game and show up as the authentic leader we talk so much about.
Totally. And then about freedom coaching, like, what's one tip you can give to our audience, someone who is looking into like being more free, either having more time or whatever freedom means for someone else? Like, what's one tip you can share with them?
Well, it's a lot also about really connecting with who you are. And it's super important. Again, we talk so much about authenticity, but what is that really? What does that mean for your life? How do you live your life? Do you really live the life that you really want? And many people aren't even sure about what that is because we have been so conditioned into fitting into a system, and oftentimes we live someone else's dream but not our own dream. And I would just say your dreams matter, so really dare to uncover what you truly desire, and then start going after that. And oftentimes what we need to actually get there is also to move some of those roadblocks out of the way. So we definitely go deep with mindset. We don't just stay on a superficial level. I think that's very, very important. We talk so much about mindset, but do we really actually go deep with it? And one last thing that I want to remind everybody of is no one can empower you but yourself. We throw around this word empower all the time. I believe there's only really self-empowerment, and there's no empowerment of other people because no one can put that power inside of you. And it's a matter of you connecting with the power that's already there.
Totally. And then also because you're a business owner as well, and you've been running your business since 2012, this business since 2012. So I have a question for you in terms of obviously you had a lot of successes. You were telling me that when you were in the green room, you were telling me how, you're really good in sort of speaking engagements and stuff before COVID hit, and when everything was like offline and stuff. So like, can you tell us, please? Obviously, you mentioned as well that when COVID hit, everything stopped, for
Yeah.
sort of like live speaking engagements. But how do you deal with like obstacles or challenges in your own business?
Yeah, first of all, for me, there was never a moment when COVID hit. There were lockdowns that were imposed, so I always like to use transparent, clear language.
Mhm.
That's also part of, who I am as a coach. I like to be transparent. I like to use communication that is clear, that is not put in my mouth, and that is authentic to me. So when the
So sorry,
lockdown
what do you
started,
mean? I didn't get that.
well, I don't believe that COVID ever hit. I think that there were lockdowns that were imposed, and that's what affected us, right? So there was nothing that really hit. I'm not correcting you. I'm just using my own language to
Fair
answer
enough,
the.
fair enough. No, no, no. I'm very clear that we clear that. So.
Yeah. So, and then first of all, I didn't stay in the city for that. First of all, I did what was also what felt right for me, for myself, and I actually never played along with any lockdown. I never did a lockdown. I never did anything that was imposed. And at the time, of course, to come back to the gist of your question, and it I had built an entire year of, not an entire year, but up until September, of speaking engagements pretty much in several different places on this beautiful earth. And it was everything was canceled, of course, from the first moment, from March 9th. That was the first event that was canceled for me personally, and that was in New York. But then I had stuff booked in Africa, in Hawaii, in London, whatnot. So all that went away from one day to the next. And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people were in similar situations. So to come back from that and to really do most things online, although I'd always done coaching online, obviously, with my clients, but I'm talking more about the networking and the in-person speaking engagements, which I really enjoyed a lot, and that personal contact. That's something that I miss. And you know what, Tony? It really has not come back in the same form yet. At least
That
not for me. And it might have for other people. For me, it hasn't. So I am working on bringing more of that back into my life. I love doing my podcast. I love doing other things online. There's nothing to be said against that. But I also like to go out and meet people in person. So
wonderful.
that's what
And
actually worked best for my business.
totally. And can you tell us a little bit more about your podcast before we close this episode?
Yes, my podcast is called Rise to Lead, and it is about the leadership of self and others. So it has a variety of topics that we touch on. I like to keep it very diverse in terms of the topics and bring sometimes a little bit of fresh air into the leadership arena. And again, it's all about bold, heart-centered leadership. So yeah, just did my 50th episode. It aired yesterday before this
Congratulations.
recording. Yeah. And yeah, I very much enjoy having those conversations. I like to also, like you, Tony, I like to have candid conversations, and I always look for new perspectives.
Wonderful. Yeah. Regina, thank you so much for being a guest today. Thank you for sharing your story, your knowledge, your tips as well with our audience. Thank you all for watching and listening to this episode. And if you enjoyed it, drop us a like, subscribe, and see you all in the next episode. All the best and bye bye.
Thank you so much, Tony, for having me.